Hello, hello. This is the Donbozos podcast, and welcome to our next episode. 1 week before Fresno Regional, or more exactly, like 6 days, 5 days, something like that. Really
Yeah.
close to Fresno Regional. And this episode, we're going to be talking a lot about that, as well as some LCS drama and our pick'ems for Valorant Tokyo, which should be a lot of fun. My name is Aiden. Of course, I'm joined by my good friend Jeremy. How are we doing today?
Doing pretty good. Super excited to play in Fresno. My
Yeah.
first official event, I think. Yeah.
Ooh,
First regional.
first regional. Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be my second, as I went to San Diego, but that was before Scarlet and Violet. So it is currently
Yeah.
9:47 p.m. on a Sunday, June 4th, and let's go ahead and head on over to what we're going to be talking about for today's podcast. So we're going to, of course, start off with Pokemon with our local recap. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about Milwaukee Regional because that literally just ended today, and Guardy went and took first place. And then we're going to talk about Fresno Regionals with, some predictions, decks that Jeremy and I are probably going to play in the future unless we change in the next 5 days, as well as a tier list, and kind of discuss what we might expect to see and what we might expect to do well, and if there's any like rogue decks that might come out. But that will probably we'll wrap it up for Pokemon for there. Then we're gonna go ahead and jump into patch 13.11 League, where we talk about some of our favorite patch notes, as well as the LCS drama. Because I know we last week we had a huge amount of guests for our fantasy, and bummed out that it's been delayed.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll end off with our Masters Tokyo Pick'em brackets, which will be good fun. And yeah, we actually have an account now, so we'll get points here. And yeah, so that's gonna be what we're talking about for the podcast for this episode. Jeremy, do you have anything else you'd like to say before we get into it?
Probably gonna be kind of long episode. So I'm ready to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So all right, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start off with, of course, Pokemon for a local recap. Jeremy, you did not go to any locals, but I
Yeah.
actually went to a local today, and I also went on Tuesday, both Davis Cards and Games. So on Tuesday, it was just standard Pokemon local, and I got third at 2-1. I actually lost to Dialga round one, because I was playing Arctina. It was best of one. They went first. I had Arc, I benched Tina, I Test Energy Pass, and they got Magnezone Star Chronos for game. So that's just kind of unfortunate. But the next two games I played into two Guardies, and I just judged Path both times.
Yep.
It was Jeremy's list, Arctinix at one change. I just replaced one of the four shoes with Palpad because I wanted to judge more than four times because I'm gross. But yeah, that was what happened on Tuesday. And today, before I went to the local at Davis Cards and Games again, I went over to Sacramento with my brother and I played with the SPL, or the Sacramento Pokemon League test group, which is super fun. We were watching Milwaukee. We got a lot of good games in. I learned a lot, and half of them seem to be on board about the Pogo Articuno, which I'll be talking about later when we talk about Fresno Regional decks. But I learned a lot. I brought my Sablezard deck with me and Jeremy's Arctina deck to test. So I want to shout out Sacramento Pokemon League test group for having me over there. Shout out to Ryan for having his place. Hopefully we see you at Fresno. And shout out to Liam for somehow always bricking every game. This guy, according to the test group, he's a good player, but he only bricks. I'm telling you, game one prized both Elisas. Game two prized 3 Mew VMAX. So like I don't know what this guy's doing when he's shuffling his cards, but hey, Liam, you'll do well at Fresno, all right? I promise. Yeah, but I just wanted to shout them out. But after we tested at Sacramento, we went over to Davis Cards and Games and played. It was best of 3 format, 3 rounds. I lost. I played Arctina again because I wanted to break from Sablezard. I lost round 1 to my brother on the Inteleon Urshifu VMAX. Literally, I don't know what to do there. He had everything in hand. Judge never stuck. Game 2, played against Guardy. Judge Path. And then game 3, played against Palkia Greninja v Union, and he just couldn't get anything out, because that's a Lost Box counter deck, and I'm not playing Lost Box. So that was my run, and that's going to end the segment for local recap. Again, it's just big preparation for Fresno now. But before we get into Fresno, Jeremy, let's go ahead and talk about Milwaukee Regionals. I know we had only one person go from our test group, Ben. He did not make day 2, unfortunately. Went out on X31. But hopefully Ben will come back for Fresno. Probably one of our better players in our test group. And I think he went with Lost Box. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about top 8. Let me pull up the picture here. This is our top 8, guys. Brian on Mew. We have 3 Ogre players, 2 Guardy players, 2 Mews, and 1 Arc Tina. Jeremy, let's go ahead and give me your first thoughts before we talk about who won.
Yeah. First thoughts. There is no Lugia here.
I
think
know.
Lugia is one. Yeah, Lugia's pretty popular, so I'm surprised that there's none that made top 8 here. But what stands out is like the 3 Kyogres, the entire test group, and
The
3 of the
entire
test.
Azul
Yeah,
GG test group.
yeah, they were able to make. Yeah, they were playing the exact 60 and made top 8, 3 of them. So I think
Yeah.
it's like there's a resurgence of Kyogres. Like there was some at the beginning, and then it fell off, and then now Kyogre builds are
I
back.
th- I think it's because everyone brought Lugia and Duraludon to this regional, and Kyogre just literally beats them because both of them are not as big on judges. But same thing goes with Gardevoir. Gardevoir very strong into any Arceus deck and also very strong into Lugia. So I think this is why we see 5 out of 8 decks be kind of like an anti-Lugia, anti-Duraludon deck, because Duraludon is just Arc Dura with the Umbreon, as well as uh Lugia is very strong because it's very consistent. I know that sounds weird, Lugia consistent, but looking at
Yeah,
the meta, it is very consistent with all of its different attackers, as well as the Urshifu Max, literally punching through every Duraludon. It becomes potent that, like, it's just so funny to see all 3 of these players, same test group, same exact 60, top
yeah,
8, but it's Henry Brand, not even from the NA, coming
yeah,
over with the Guardian EX. No Sky Seal Stone. No Sky
yeah,
Seal. The 4 Seal Stone with the Zacian for the faster candies, the more consistency, taking it, taking Milwaukee Regional, which is impressive because we were talking how Guardy was not doing so hot. And boom, we see 2 top 8 and 1 winning it all.
yeah. It's just nice to see that Gardevoir is doing well again. The deck is pretty solid. It was surprising that it wasn't getting too much results in like a couple of the NA events, but I think it was time that there's so many Gardevoirs. There has to be some that will eventually top it.
Yeah. And we can't forget about the 1 Arctina that made it. Always, hey, that's another top 8 appearance, man. Hey, look,
Yeah,
this deck, like, I feel like when you play this deck, you're not even playing Pokemon. You're playing Judge Path and leaving it into
yeah,
the judge's hands, right? But I mean,
yeah,
if it works, it works, and the cleansing gloves makes it so you can beat Guardian, beat Mew down. But let's talk about Kyogre Lost Box because everyone is saying that the Turbo Lost Box is the best one, but the Kyogre seems to be pretty dang good. And I believe this is the version with Raikou and Dragonite and 2 Forest Seals, and the 4 E-Recyclers. So it makes it very consistent, but at the same time, you got those early game attackers, and Dragonite is really powerful, and you can never ignore it, and
yeah,
Raikou makes a lot of matchups really easy. But yeah,
yeah,
I'm surprised. I know Duraludon and Lugia isn't running as much judges, so it's harder for them to get by Lost Box. But at the same time, I feel like they should have expected it. But I don't think they were expecting to fight against so many Kyogres.
yeah.
So yeah, congratulations to Azul's test group for getting 3 of them into top 8, and congratulations to Henry Brand for doing it all with the Gardevoir EX once again.
Yeah, it's I think people need like the Lost Box was able to adapt super well to the format. Like I mean, it's just Kyogre farms like a lot of the Mew matchups, and I think I saw on stream. I think some of the Arctina players were even running Manaphy in their deck list. So maybe they were expecting the Kyogres. So maybe coming to this tournament, there was like some groups that were discovered the Kyogre and they're just trying to find a way to beat it or like counter it.
Yep. And I was talking to some people from SPL and some other people, It might be a advanced technology Mew angle with like a Manaphy
Yeah.
or Lugias. I know Lugias are not putting Manaphy back in. I was talking to some people at SPL as well about Arctura. They're talking about putting Manaphy back in, or not even back in, putting it in. So like when it gets to that
Yeah.
point, you slam the Manaphy down, Judge slam Manaphy, Manaphy slam Judge, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Milwaukee. That was the topic, guys. Unfortunately, we are doing this pretty early. Like the regional ended today, so we don't have deck list to go over, but we might go over it on Friday when we have everyone in the Airbnb for Fresno Regional. But I think we're just gonna be talking about our decks and what we look forward to. So yeah, Jeremy, do you have anything else you want to say about Milwaukee?
No, I think we got most of it. Just mainly Resurgent of Kyogre. Yeah.
Yeah, Coyote Ogre, man, that thing goes crazy. um,
Yeah.
and I'm not excited because
Yeah.
I don't want to play mirrors. So let's go into that. Talk about mirrors. Go ahead and talk about Fresno Regional coming up. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and do a tier list. I know you guys want to hear about what decks we want to play, but we're probably gonna go over that on Friday with the rest of the boys. So we're probably just gonna go ahead and do a rundown of what we think the best decks are, and we'll talk about what decks we're playing on the next episode of the podcast. So Jeremy, let's go ahead and kick off our tier list here. Let me switch screens. So here we're on trainerhill.com, and we're gonna go ahead and do the tier list. We're gonna choose from these decks only. Some decks might come up later in discussion, but these are the decks we're going with. And we got S through D tier for what we're looking at. So Jeremy, let's go ahead and start with Lost Zone box. Includes Kyogre and Turbo. So this is both the Greninja Lost box
Yeah.
basically. I mean, Jeremy, I don't even have to say anything, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's it, right?
yeah, this is probably, I don't want to say it, but might be best deck in the format.
Yeah.
It's so strong. It doesn't lose to a lot of cheese. It beats most of the matchups. If not better, if not, it has an advantage over them. If not, it's just 50-50.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lost Zone box, really strong. One of the fastest decks in the format. One of the strongest decks in the format, and has so many options. Some, double prizer, two
Yeah.
prizer Pokemon, as well as can take multiple prizes in a turn. Probably one of the strongest, probably the strongest deck of the format. But one so many things you could do with it.
Yeah. Yeah, this deck can hit big with the Dragonite and Raikus, and also can hit wide with like Sableye and stuff. So it's also a fast deck. You can hit with Cram like starting turn one. You can get lost. You can get like 7, 8, 10, 7 or 10 by like turn two. So you can just start swinging with Sableye and stuff, and like your Force Seals, it can search you anything you need. So the deck's just versatile and yeah, just able to basically do everything. And yeah, the matchups are at worst 50-50, I say.
I agree. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the big hitter here. Let's go talk about Lugia Archeops. This is interesting because I almost want to say S, but I feel more comfortable putting it at like the highest spot on A. The thing about Lugia Archeops is it's similar to Lost Box, where you have so many different attackers, so many options. I just feel like it's not as consistent as Lost Box. But don't get me wrong, the power of it is almost as strong as Lost Box. I think the Tyranitar, what makes it really good is you can mill 2 cards every time you swing against
Yeah.
Lost Box, as well as it hits over 320 for the other matchup. So it's like almost like it does both. As well as people are running the Urshifu VMAX now to counter Duraludon as well as other big Pokemon. And you have a Stone Journey Yveltal for just small one prizer fights. It has a pretty decent matchup spread. The only issue is it breaks a little bit and it loses to Path. So
Yeah, I
I
think the biggest path.
yeah. Some Lugias are starting to put Lost Vacuum back in. I know some Lugias are like running Switch to save energy or to get out of paralysis. The thing
Yeah.
about Lugia is the thing about Lugia is it has options for every out. It's deciding whether the player wants to put them in or not. So with that, I think I would have put them at the top of A.
Yeah, I have to agree that it's a top 8 deck. I don't think it has the like Lost Box can fit everything they need in the deck. While the Lugia's players have to pick between what tech they want to protect against for the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like the main difference differentiating it. I think they also like against single price matchups, although they can play Sojourner, they could just be they can't trade as well as like a Greninja would, who can just knock out two Comfeys with like to knock out two Comfeys. So I think Lugia could be like not as versatile as like Lost Box in every single matchup.
Mhm.
Although the mill two cards is kind of insane. You can sometimes just win the matchup.
Yeah.
You just mill the right cards and you sometimes just win the game, which I don't think this should be in the game, but I guess it is.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Gardevoir. This is standard Gardevoir, so Guardian with two
Yeah.
Zacy's, whether it be Sky Seal or for the new Forest Seal. This
Yep.
is standard Gardevoir. Let's hear what you think first, because I haven't played this deck a lot. I played against it a lot, but I'm not a playtester of it. You are a playtester of it, so I want to hear your opinion.
So I think it's better than Lugia. I think the ability to be versatile with Cresselias and like be able to tank up with even Gardevoir EXs, and you always have the option to just like swing like a lot of prizes with Verization with like your nearly uncapped damage.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has like the main problem is sometimes it struggles when against like I guess like these spread decks. Sometimes you can't find your mana fee, or even like against Sableye, you just can't protect against your Curlius against them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not as good as Lost Box, but I think it because like Zacian can basically into most matchups in the format can just knock out anything. It is like S tier.
Yeah, I would say probably bottom of S tier, but these two might be the only S tier decks that we have. So, um,
Yeah,
yeah. So let's continue. Let's go to one of the crappier decks. Let's go ahead and just throw Dialga Magnezone on the bottom. Look,
yeah.
guys,
I think that one's
this deck is fun. It's fun to hit Star Kronos, but you crumble against Ogre. You crumble against Lugia. You crumble against anything that has strong single prize hitters. It's fun, don't get
yeah,
me wrong, but if you guys want to do well at regional, don't bring it. Hey, but bring it to locals by all means, all right? I got rolled by
yeah,
it, all right? I can't say it's a bad deck. It's just not the best.
yeah.
But yeah, also throwing it down. I don't think anything else deserves D. I think everything else is at least a C. So let's go ahead and talk about one of the middle tier decks. Let's talk about Gucha Lasso Box. I know. In one of our episodes, this thing we were mauling about this thing, but now looking at it and learning matchup spreads, it's not that good. I think what makes Guja Lasso Box strong is the fact that it runs Judge and Roxanne in a Lasso deck. And you don't need 7 to swing with it because you can attach
Yeah,
and then turn 2 Melanie attach. You still got Greninja. The one issue with it doesn't run Sableye. And you get cheesed by Rope Boss and like Boss in general.
yeah,
But I hear it's really consistent. We have a senior player at DCG who wants to bring Gudra to Fresno, and he's probably one of the better seniors I know, and he's really confident about this deck. But I just don't see it being as good as the rest of the decks that swing really big, because then you just lose the boss. So
yeah.
I am comfortable with putting it either low B or the top of C.
Uh, yeah. I think it's around that range too. It's just that with Urshifu's and like Lugia decks, there's so many decks in either hit big over or just like toss around the deck.
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah, I think it's rough for it. So
I'll put it top of
yeah,
C.
I think it's like top of C. All right. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's just a rough meta for it right now.
yeah.
So,
Speaking of Pokemon that had a hot start but slowed down a lot, Miraidon. Let's talk about both decks. So there are two Miraidon decks. Actually, I accidentally had. That's so weird. The Miraidon Fluffy pops out as Miraidon Alecki. So there's two different Miraidon decks. There's the one with Regieleki, which is the one everyone was like raving about, and then there's the better version,
yeah,
in my opinion, the Miraidon Fluffy, where there's no Alekis, and you swing with mainly Raichu, and then you swing with Raikou and sometimes Ampharos EX, because nothing in format one shots Ampharos unless you're hitting it for weakness. And you're running the Magnezone, which counters Manaphy and Lost Box. So I'm comfortable with putting like they're somewhat relatively the same power though.
yeah.
Just the Miraidon Flappy one is a little bit better. But I
I
think they're both
think they
worse than
are.
Gudra.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're both worse than Guja, but I think they're relatively the same power level, so they're like the same tier. But I
Yeah.
personally prefer the Aleki build more, but I don't think I think the Emperors. I haven't tested the Emperors. That might be like the big difference when I was playing the Miraidon Flappies without them.
Mm-hmm.
The Emperors might be what makes them like might be like sleeper, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is a pick
Yeah.
to like Fresno. I think it'll be C
I
tier.
think the only reason why some of them did decent is because so many people were playing Arctur Umbreon, which are just 3 prizers into a deck that hits infinite numbers with
Yeah.
Raichu. But at the same time, Duraludon swings over every single one of the mons, except for
Yeah.
like Ampharos. So I don't know. Miraidon lovers, I know you're out there, I believe, but it's mid Rhydon in the end of the day.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a top tier deck. The deck that you might play at Fresno. Arceus Giratina, also known as Judge Path Simulator. This deck,
Yeah.
the only reason why this deck is okay is because it plays Judge and Path, and Tina hits everything. um,
Yeah.
so is it the same power level as Lugia? Is it better? Is it worse? Let me know, Jeremy. What do you think? What do you think?
So I would say it's about the same power level as Lugia. I think the main thing is just because Judge Path just wins you like Judge sticks. Sometimes you just auto win the matchup right there. So you can just like break your opponent and you just win on the spot. I think that's like something that Lugia doesn't have as much. In like no matter what you do, you have to still like just slam prizes down while you can't does not much control aspect. I think the biggest downside is in the mirrors are kind of weird because no one runs out to path. So if the person who goes first just sets up a path, or like you play against like a Mew who also runs path, the matchup could be like really rough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would be comfortable. Again, I've also played tested a little bit of it because I do like Arceus, and I think this is the best Arceus deck right now. Maybe Arcturaludon's better, but um, I'm okay with putting it right below Lugia Arceops because I think Lugia Arceops has a little bit of a better matchup spread.
yeah, yeah. I would agree overall, but like I think they're sort of close in power level, but I would say Lugia's slightly better. But I think Arctina is like I guess it was sleeper compared to where it was rated in the beginning of the format, but then like I think like with one was it which they I think they won Port was it Portland that the
Yeah, it's
Arctina won?
Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like people are now like seeing it the card. I think some people are on 2 belts too.
Hmm.
So like yeah, and then like 4 path, but then like yeah, just so like the deck list is pretty like confirmed already. You
Yeah.
know what you're playing against when you're playing the matchup. It's not like
Yeah.
there's usually like no surprises, I guess. Like not many two
Hmm.
surprises in the deck. Maybe like you have like a one a radiant in the deck, a Manaphy. That's pretty much the only flex
Yeah.
spots in the deck.
Maybe Dunsparce. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe Dunsparce. Yeah, there's not many flex to it.
All right, I know a lot of you have been staring at this a long time. There's both Mew decks right there. We gotta talk about them because this thing is disgusting. Both decks pretty good, and I hate to say it, Jeremy. I think the fusion one is a little bit better. The
I
Deoxys
I
with the
think I have to
penny
agree.
is gross. That thing goes crazy. I was supposed to there's the Mew Genesis deck that's the fusion less Mew, which is 4 GTEs, 4 path, 4 vacuum. Go ham, go all you want. Judge every turn, Roxanne when they drape you on you, things like that. But people discovered Fusion Mew with the Deoxys because what they would do is send out Deoxys, go second, Elysian Sparkle plus DTE is enough to kill Cram, and then when they cram back, you just penny it up and start swinging through Mew VMAX. That is strong. Or you just don't even penny, just swing twice with the Deoxys, which
Yeah,
is fine because you're in a positive price trade. So as much as I hate it, I think Fusion is back. I mean, I don't think I know Fusion is back.
yeah,
And I am almost tempted to say that Fusion Mew deserves to be in S along with
yeah.
LZB Greninja and Gardevoir.
Yeah, I think Fusion, although like I hate playing Fusion Mew, I think it is the stronger variant of the deck at the format currently. Um, with more as Mew like have good like results, people point in Drapion, but like Drapion doesn't even fix their matchup that much in
It just
Fusion Strike
activates
compared to
Roxanne
like
for
the
you,
DT.
honestly.
Yeah, Fusion Strike Mew actually plays around DT or Drapion a lot better than DT Mew. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think like if people it's harder to counter this deck. So I guess like it's less consistent, but
yeah.
I
The
think
only
for
the
this
only
format it's better.
issue that Mew has is it absolutely loses to control, but no one's playing it, so it's
Yeah,
fine. So I'm putting Fusion Mew right under Gardevoir, but where are we gonna put Mew Genesect? Do we want to put it under Fusion Mew, or do we want to put it at the top of A? Because I think that Mew Genesect is still pretty good. I think it's good against Lugia. I think it's good against Lost Box because
Yeah.
you're constantly pathing. But I just doesn't. But the edge of having that Deoxys, I feel like is just way better. So where do you want to put Mew? Just standard Mew.
I think Mew is worse than Lugia, might even be worse than Arctina. They
Yeah.
both are the same as Lost Path, and then like Arctina just hits hard while Mew has the tablet to do damage.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing is, I guess like now that you run like cleansing gloves and stuff, you can hit one shot Gardevoirs before you had to hit like 4 tablets to be able to one shot with a DTE.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's slightly worse than Arctina, so I'll put it like
Below
after
Arctina.
behind Arctina,
Yeah.
but zone A tier.
All right, let's finish out the Lost Zone box. Actually, something might deserve a D because let's talk about the Tina LC box. Is this worse than Miraidon? Because I think it's worse than Miraidon, to be quite honest. You put down this Tina while you're trying to set up Comfy, and it's getting boxed out by every single one of these decks that we talked about already,
Yeah.
including Dialga. Okay, I would say it's the same power level as Dialga Zone, except it's just better because it's just Lost Zone.
Yeah, I agree. It plays similar to like it's like a different engine, but it plays very similar to Gardevoirization, where you just like you're kind of sacking early game and trying to build like an infinite damage monster. The problem is just that it just doesn't do it as well as Gardevoir does, and
Yeah.
then like it just loses to all the Lost Zone and all Lost Zone
The
decks.
only
So it's just
matchup when we were testing it that we found is good in it's against Fusionless Mew. That matchup is impossible. Other than that, though,
yeah,
the deck sucks.
yeah. This deck is it's better than Dialga. I think you can bring it to a tournament. It's just I personally would not bring it to a tournament. It's super scary to just be a Glossum deck that gives up 2 prizes every single turn.
Yeah,
Yeah, I put it like yeah
yeah,
above
D.
Dialga, but in B
Okay, what
tier.
about Palkia? Let's talk about Palkia really quick because is this thing deserving of D? Because I actually think it's pretty good. After playtesting with Min a little bit, and it has lost cities, and there's variants like Greninja or like
Yeah,
Calyrex. I actually think it's quite. I'm not saying it's good, but it's not bad. And I think it deserves to be below Regieleki. I don't think it deserves D because I think Palkia
yeah,
actually is because it's still Palkia in the end. You're still
yeah.
fast. You got your Star Portal active. You have access to Radiant Greninja.
Yep,
Um, if you want, you can run paths in your deck, but you run like 3 lost cities. You run collapsed stadiums. You have
yeah,
options to Luminion. You run Aridas. I think this deck is actually okay, and I think honestly, if you guys are listening and you're still deciding what deck you want to bring, that's low key kind of fun but not meta. I would bring Palkia over Miraidon. Uh, it might not be as strong as
yeah.
Miraidon, but me personally, I would bring Palkia over Miraidon.
Yeah, I think the deck's more versatile than Rhydon, but the problem is like Pocket does not hit numbers. It cannot one shot anything
Yeah.
in this format. So, but like if you
Well, and
expect to just queue
Calyrex
into like
though, but
yeah,
Calyrex though.
yeah, if you expect to like queue into like single prize matchup, it's fine, but that's probably better than Random. But if you expect to just queue into like 2 reprisers,
Hmm.
maybe just play Miraidon.
Hmm.
But I don't. This deck is good, but I think this good deck is okay. So I think
Yeah.
it goes below Miraidon, but I think it's like there's reasons to play the deck. I think that's like there's some decks that there's like Giratina lost them. Like there's like 2 other decks that do the same thing. We'll just play those decks instead.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about our first B tier deck, Lost Zone Zard.
Yeah,
This is the deck I'm most likely bringing, and I love it to death. I'm a Zard player. I've been playing Zard ever since it came out.
yeah,
Arkintel Zard,
yeah,
Intel Zard, Beedrill Zard, something Zard. I love this card, but it's just okay. It's not bad,
yeah,
and it's great. It's a good deck. It's just not that. It's just not, I guess, overpowered.
yeah.
It's not
Not
strong.
unfair.
It's not unfair.
There's
It's
nothing
a fair
unfair
deck.
about the deck.
Look, Zard is not a fair card, but it's a fair deck. And let me explain,
Yeah,
guys. Let me explain why I'm putting it in B. All right, it has an okay matchup against Lost Zone Box. The only, I guess, positive it has is it might hit 10 faster than Lost Zone Box. All right, it's an okay matchup against Guardian as well. If they have candies, it's a little bit rough. Fusion Mew, it's actually an okay matchup. The thing about these 6 decks above Lost Box Zard right now is that the matchups are 50-50 are favored in Zard. The reason why I'm putting it in B is because I just feel like you just lose. Like sometimes it's just like you
Yeah,
break, you don't find gear, you don't find chorus, and like you just kind of sit there. And then you like as a Zard player, you want to go behind in prizes, but I feel like sometimes doing that, you're putting yourself in a huge disadvantage. And don't get me wrong, this deck has good matchup spread. 50-50s against most decks, positive against other decks, and like a 20% winner against Inteleon or Urshifu, which we'll talk about later. But
yeah,
I would only play this deck if you're a Zard lover and you've been practicing this for a while, because this deck plays completely different from all the other losses from Tina and Lost Box. It plays completely different. So I'm gonna put it in B. Maybe it might deserve A, and I'm just kind of underselling it because this is the deck I play. But I mean, Jeremy, I think you agree with me, right?
yeah. I think it's like it's just not unfair. Like all the decks above it have something that's broken that just makes you all the way matchup sometimes. So I think a main problem is like
Yeah,
you're sort of always have to be behind, and there are unfair aspects like Charizard, but like it's not like it's exclusive to it. Like
yeah.
Lugia
I
has like
actually that yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna have to agree. The matchups that the Zard box is good in slash has 50-50s is you have to work for that every time. You have to work for it every time, right? I like even if I like when I'm playing against you in Arctina, I know I have a positive matchup. I still have to work for it, right? Where if you're playing
yeah,
Arctina to Lugia and you path, you don't have to think, you don't have to work for it,
yeah,
right? So that's what makes Arctina strong. Same thing like goes like Mew or something like that. But when I play Lost Zone box, you're right. I feel like every deck here I feel like I'm thinking and I have to work for it. And that can either get
yeah,
exhausting or sometimes you lose, like, you forget like what's in your prizes or whatnot. So yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one.
yeah. It's still a really solid deck, but like it it is. I say that like although it's probably B tier, I think it's closer to A than it is to C tier. Like the deck is still really strong. It was definitely worth bringing to tournament, but I don't like. I wouldn't say if you like don't know what to pick at this point in the deck, I would not be like this is not the deck I would just pick up if you don't know what you're playing for Fresno.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Guardian TV Union. Probably one of the decks I kind of rode the bandwagon a little bit. I thought this deck was gonna be really good, and now that I look back on it, it's not that good. And there are decks running 3 clef keys, which can be annoying. But how I see Gardevoir Mewtwo Union, Jeremy, is Gardevoir lovers who hate Lost Box. Which is fine, but the issue is that
Yeah.
you lose to every other deck. You lose to the Mew, you lose to the Archeops, you lose to the Tina. Um, and you lose to other Guardies. So I think the deck is fine, but I'm gonna have to put it in C above Gudra.
Yeah, I have not that much experience with this build. I once like Tord got to his Zacian build. I was just playing like double Zacian build. I was just playing his build a lot, and I think that build is just better than
Yeah,
this
it's just
one.
better.
So
Yeah,
yeah, if you play Gardevoir, I would just say just play that build
yeah.
instead.
Play doubles ace. Play candies, guys. Play pennies. Don't play Mewtwo
Yeah,
Union unless you hate Lost Box. But then you lose to
yeah.
everything else. So yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the last 2 decks. Probably the most talk recently, Arctura Umbreon. Um, I'd be okay with putting it bottom of A. It runs 2 judges. It has comeback card. It has a comeback card like Karen's Conviction. The Halucha Alakazam build has been going around a lot. It's really good in terms of if you need to fix a little bit of numbers, but it's also good against the Dragonite because the Dragonite lays a bunch of damage counters on, and you can move that in your advantage.
Yeah.
Um, so the only issue with Arcdura is you're playing 4 3 prizers, which
Yeah.
can sometimes be really bad. And this thing just absolutely loses to Miraidon, I feel like. So I'm okay with putting it at the bottom of A. I still think it's pretty damn strong. It has some flaws, but then again, you're still playing an Arceus deck.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this deck because like on paper this deck looks like insane into like the top tier, but like in practice, every deck does have an out to Dura, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
I think I'll probably personally put it in like B tier. It's like on paper like I don't know, it just doesn't feel as good as I don't feel like you will play it over Arctina, which is like I think personally Arceus the better build at the current format,
Really,
but
because I think the Umbreon ability is what makes this deck really strong. And
yeah, I mean
You can't lose to Mew either because you have Umbreon.
I don't know. I think it's still probably like I think still playable for Mew. Like just you can Mew always like
You have to go through a
I
Dura
think
and
Mew,
an Umbreon that one shots your Mew.
yeah, but you can always just like I mean the thing is I think the Mew can outpace the Duras a lot of the times in the matchup
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like this deck suffers from like breaking more than like the other decks in the list.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a little scary to take to like a long tournament. It's like so much like I guess it's like your versatile Dialga, like
All right,
Dialga sometimes like just doesn't
we'll put
hit.
it top of B.
Yeah,
All right, let's go and talk about our last list. Inteleon Urshifu Rapid Strike box. All right, here's the thing about this. All right, this thing is so cracked against Lasso, against Guardy. You run Double
yeah,
Dream for Mew. You you beat down every Arceus in the format. You beat down every Miraidon, but you have a 90% loss rate against Lugia. And with that, this goes at the bottom of B.
yeah,
Look, this deck is fun. And this deck is awesome. Everyone loves this deck. I don't think I've known a single person that hates this deck, right? But you literally cannot win against Lugia. Like it's almost impossible to beat Lugia, and there's still a good chance that you lose to Mew, the Fusion Mew, as well as Guardy. But hey, you can't lose the Lost Zone box, all right?
yeah. I feel like the deck has it's like it just cannot hit big. It cannot hit the big numbers. You have to yoga loop like cheese all the matchup that like all the like non single prize matchups
Yeah,
basically. It just doesn't hit enough big enough numbers. You just feel like if you're playing against like Arctina Lugia, like they just sit under V star and they're just like they're just coding your stuff while you're just sitting there like two shotting their stuff. So just
yeah.
you're just like so far behind prizes, and you're like three prizer, they're like two prizers. So like
Yep.
yeah, I think yeah, it's just better if you expect to play against a lost box like definitely a good pick, but if you don't, then like yeah, you should not play this deck.
All right, so that's gonna be it for the tier list. I went ahead and just copied, took a screenshot of it. So yeah, that's gonna be the
Yep.
list, ladies and gentlemen, on the podcast. We have Lhasa Box up there on the front, and as the worst deck in the format right now, we got Dialga Magnezone on the bottom. And that's gonna go ahead and wrap up our Pokemon section. Oh wait, unless Jeremy has something for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you with a blindly rank. The theme of this one will be black and white. It'll be for black and white Pokemon. Not TCG, but like the video games. Like
Oh, just Pokemon in general.
just Pokemon in general.
Okay.
So the first Pokemon I have will be the first Pokemon in the Unova Pokédex, I guess. Victini.
Oh, one of the mythicals. Start off with that.
Yeah.
I kind of don't like it that much. This design's kind of
Ooh.
weird. It annoys me. I hate fire types. So it's never really caught my attention. I'll put it 4.
Number 4. Okay. Well, probably, the next Pokemon is probably the first Pokemon you run into in the grass. It is Patrat.
Parrot. All right, this thing's kind of goated. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was funny. Watchhog, not so much. Um, I think it looks funny. That's the thing. And for it being kind of like the Ratata of like the region, I kind of like it. I'll put it at 3.
Number 3. Okay, so I'll go with a starter. You said you didn't like fire types, so I got you a water type, Mr. Oshawott.
Oshawott. All right, Samurot's kind of goaded. All right, Oshawott. That line is one of my favorite starter lines. But Jeremy knows I like most of the water starter lines. But I don't know what you're gonna throw at me for the next 2 mods. I'm just gonna put Oshawott at 2. All right.
Asha number 2. Well, I mean, the next one is if you pick Oshawott, you will receive this Pokemon before your first Pokemon gym. I got the Pan Sage here.
Oh, Pansage. All right, throw the monkey in
Or
5.
Panseer, Panseer.
Panseer, throw him in 5. I hate all of them. I hate all of them. Throw him in 5.
But they have the funny Simisear card
No,
in like
no, no, no. Throw it in
Bronzino.
5. Throw it in 5.
All right, and then the last Pokemon is the Bird of the Generation, Mr. Pidove.
Was it unpheasant? It's not that
Yeah,
bad. It's not my least favorite bird, so it's not that bad.
yeah.
Yeah, it can go number one. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with. Hey, it could have been Pat Random one. All right, that's all I'll say. All
Yeah.
right, that's gonna end our Pokemon segment. So let's go ahead and hop into League of Legends. We're gonna start with 13.11. We'll talk about our favorite patch notes from 13.11. Again, we don't go over the whole thing unless it's a special patch because there are people out there who do that full time, and we want to make sure they have that chance to. So we're gonna only talk about our favorite patch notes, and we're also gonna talk about our fantasy segment that we should have but won't. So let's go ahead and talk about 13.11. Oh, we're also gonna do we're also gonna talk about the skins, of course.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, start us
Yeah.
off.
Start off. Well, I'll do probably the biggest changes in this patch. It's the Rel change. They made Rel into a jungler. They basically put 300% damage on every single one of her abilities to jungle camps. I mean, this is super fun to play. Your Qs are you're basically playing Nunu. Your Qs do like 700 damage. All your abilities do like 700 damage. But like when your abilities are on cooldown, you actually do like negative damage to the camps. Like your pet absolutely like out damages you when you're hitting the camps. So I would also you're basically playing a support in the jungle. So like you would never pick this in solo
Mm-hmm.
queue, but it's like it's fun to play in like 5 minutes and stuff. Yeah, I think that's like it's like a funny change, but
Mm-hmm.
it might seem like some weird like pro play, but I do not pick this in solo queue. This is like god awful. You're never going to carry any games doing like 10 damage a game.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next change I want to cover is the Kalista buff. Uh, Kalista's like complete dog shit right now because she does not like the new mythic change. Shield bow was like super good for her. You got HP, you got attack speed. Now Shield bow doesn't give attack speed and non mythic. So now you're like rushing Rage Blade, but they like buff the hell out of him. And I think the biggest change for this is your passive. Before you all attacks only did 90% of your total AD, and now it's finally doing 100% AD. So yeah, your all attacks are just doing 10% more damage. It's broken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my favorite change, which is buff wisps. I know that's probably the lamest change that y'all don't care about, but hey, remember how like the cool thing about Ivern was that you can share buffs? Well, guess what? You can do it as normal junglers now. And when your jungle item is fully upgraded and you take a buff, it will now leave a wisp where then your teammates can come and pick it up. So this is really good for junglers that require a buff, but your teammate also requires one. Midlaner's a blue, AD's a red. If I'm playing Kindred, if I'm playing Grace or red, I need the red, but I need AD to have it. Now they can have it. Same thing with like if you're playing Hecker with blue buff, that's really strong on him. So really excited about that. I can have Ego Laner stop stealing my buffs. Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the skins though. Probably one of the coolest
Ooh.
skins. DRX, Aatrox, Akali, Ashe, Caitlyn, Kindred, Maokai, and of course Prestige DRX Aatrox for the MVP himself, Kingen. Um, let's talk about our the waifu decision from Beryl here. He somehow convinced Zeka, who wanted Silas, to pick Akali so Beryl can have another waifu. um,
Extra money.
Extra money, yeah. I know he picked Ashe because he was really good at Ashe support, but at the same time he wanted Ganyu, so same thing goes with Caitlyn, Kindred, and Akali. And of course the Maokai for the 2 games played by the boy himself. And Aatrox, of course, picks for King. And so really amazing skins. I love the recall animations. I love the sound effects. I got gifted the Kindred skin actually, but I'm gonna get the border and signature and chroma, of course, because these skins are dope. Are you thinking about picking up any of them, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think I want to pick up the bundle with Caitlyn in it because I'm like the fanboy. But I think the champion I play the most out of the champions that got the skins are like Maokai, so I might consider picking that one too. But the I'm just buying the entire bundle.
Yeah, no, the every skin is sick. If you play these champions remotely, pick it up because it is amazing. And they only come and rotate through the shop for limited time. So pick it up now. Flex
Yeah.
the skin in game. I already got a couple comments for randos. But let's go ahead and talk about our fantasy segment because last week we had all these guests to pick for our LCS fantasy, and Jeremy and I would go over week by week the points in our matchups, but we could not do that because the LCS players went on strike due to Riot canceling
Yeah.
Academy and is it Academy and Amateur, or is it just Academy?
I believe it is delaying like LCS teams basically like not have academy teams, which is basically lost like I think 8 of the teams like dropped their academy teams. So basically like
Yeah.
40 like 50 people just lost their job, and yeah, I think that's what the strike's mainly for.
Yeah, not good at all because
Yeah.
that's where we grow our NA talent, such as like JoJo and Danny and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's definitely required, and it makes sense for the players to do so. But with that being said, we don't want to get into too much politics. But yeah, so basically, Academy got canceled. Not canceled, but LCS teams can't have Academy teams. Players are not happy about that, so they decided to go on strike and walk out. And it delayed LCS for 2 weeks, which means that we will not have our fantasy week this week, or fantasy segment this week or next week. But we are
Yeah.
excited for what comes, and we wish the players and the teams the best. And we look
Yeah.
forward to the content they bring, and look forward to the competitive set they have. We wish everyone the best of luck for that, and that is going to be it for our fantasy segment. You would like to say anything else,
Yeah.
Jeremy?
No, I can't wait to for LCS to be back, but I hope like everything turns out like fine for the players and like yeah.
Yeah. All right. Rank my favorite mid laners blindly. Here we go. Here we go. Last week we did jungle, and that included like Kindred, Graves, and Heckerman stuff.
Yeah.
This time we're going to do mid lane. And you might already know them. I have them all ready. So let's go ahead and start with my favorite mid laner, Ari.
Ari, ooh. I liked when Ari used to be like a burst mage, but now that she's relegated to like kind of supportive like TF where you just run around like throwing charms and like Everfrost, I liked her less. I'll put her at she's still really fun with her ult, so I'll put her at number 3.
All right in the middle. All right, we're gonna go ahead and throw you the griefer himself, Yasuo.
Yasuo. Where would Yasuo? Well, with new changes, I think Yasuo sucks right now, but I remember like fundamentals of playing Yasuo a lot like when he was released, so I'll put him at number 2.
All right, number 2. We're gonna go ahead and throw you out my second favorite mid laner, another AD champion, Irelia.
Ooh, Aurelia, I have to put her at number 1. I used to be an Aurelia main top lane, so yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna throw at you another mage, but up my alley for mage, Silas.
Silas. Ooh, so it's gonna be you're 4 or 5. I'm not the biggest fan of the mid lane pool, so I'll put him at number 4.
Ooh, number 4. That means whatever I say here is number 5. And I've been thinking
Yeah.
about it a lot, and those 4, like kind of the 4 mid laner champions I always pick, but I always do enjoy playing this last champion once in a while, and that is Rumble. You saw me play him
Ooh,
yesterday, so Rumble's gonna have to go 5. But I actually didn't
yeah.
play Rumble too much mid. I actually learned him when he was broken in the jungle during 2021, but now I only play him mid. But yeah, I know a lot of you thought I was gonna say Talia, but yeah, she is one of my one tricks on another account, but she's not like my favorite mid laners. I just have her because she's cool. So Talia's the honorable mention. Put her at 6, but yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into Valorant for our final segment, guys. BCT or not BCT? Champions Tour 2023 Masters Tokyo. We got some banger matchups coming up, and let's go ahead and start with our pick'ems, Jeremy. So, are we at a hopium copium, or are we believers? I don't know. Let's start with Group A. So this is our group stage, and then we'll do a knockout or playoff stage after the 14th. So that's gonna be after Fresno Regional. Man, busy weekend, man. It's gonna be a busy weekend. So let's go ahead. NRG versus not as sincere. I mean, we're
Ooh,
thinking the
this
same
is
thing, right? We're thinking the same thing, right?
yeah, we're rough first matchup, but I mean, we are thinking the exact same thing
All right,
here.
NRG's taking the game. Let's go. Um. Oh shoot. How do I do it? Do I do that? Nope. Having technical difficulties? How does this work? I don't know how this works.
Oh, uh, we'll just I guess we'll just say who we pick for the first round for now. We'll fix it and maybe post it later. Yeah.
We'll post it later. All right. Yeah. So we'll have. This is weird. How come? Oh, pick 'em right here. I see it now.
Yep.
I'm a little bit dumb. Oh, there we go. All right, Energy takes it over. Not as Vincier, which means we have Edward Gaming versus T1. Not too familiar with the teams. I know I'm familiar with T1. T1 has
Yeah.
4
Same.
Overwatch players. All right, that's why I'm
Yep.
familiar with them because they have one of my favorite players of all time, Carpe. He's a fossil at this point in time, but he's still quite good at video games. I'm okay with going T1. I'm not too familiar with Edward.
Yeah.
So I know EDG is kind of cracked in league, but hey, I mean T1's kind of cracked in league too. So,
Yeah.
but T1 has some of my favorite Overwatch players and has one of my favorite Overwatch players of all time, and I'm just down to do that. So,
Yeah. And, like I know some of the other games they used to be like professional CS:GO players, but I think like the Korean like vision is like big better, and like I think T1 got this one.
yeah.
The better practice overall and stuff too. So.
All right, our first elimination match: Nodus Vincier versus Edward Gaming. Don't know nothing,
I
bro. I know nothing.
Oh, okay. Navi is like the second best team. Or I guess they got third this season, but they did win like 2 tournaments ago. They were under FPX. They did win like I forgot which one. I think about it,
Mm-hmm.
but they did win. So I would put them over EDG. They
All
might be
right.
like, yeah, they might be able to win the entire tournament. So
All right.
yeah,
NRG versus T1. Hey, we're thinking the same thing, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
all
okay.
the way.
All the way. All right. NRG qualified all the way. No losses, baby. Which leaves us with
Yeah,
T1 versus Navi. I'm down to put Navi.
yep,
I think you're right. So that's gonna
yeah,
do it for Group A. Group B. DRX versus attacking. I think DRX is just better. DRX is one of the most
yep.
cracked out Oceania teams, right?
It's
Yeah, I think they're
Korean.
winning it
Yeah,
all. Um,
yeah,
and we got FUT Esports versus Evil Genius. I mean, hey, come on, we gotta hope on them too, right? Like,
yeah.
EG's pretty damn good too. If you know what I'm saying. Snip the Hopia up real quick.
Yeah, they might be missing a player, but they got this.
Yeah, they got this
One-
easy, bro, easy. But to be honest, I don't think they're beating DRX though. So
yeah,
DRX taking it over EG. All right, we got
yep.
attacking versus FUT Sports. I don't know anything about these teams, like at
I
all.
don't either, but attacking sounds like a cooler name.
Yeah, this team, yeah. I'm down for sending EG through too. To be honest, you
Yep.
know. All right,
Yeah.
see, guys, we're so good at pickups. You know, we totally
Yeah.
fumbled the last one, but hey, this time we got it because NA's got us, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, VCT Americas, you're gonna do well at
Mm.
Tokyo. Woo! Let's ride on the backs of Loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Man.
it'll be fun to watch. I mean, like after we finish a round of Pokemon, we just like
Yeah.
sit at the practice tables and just watch VCT. It'll be fun. Watch Tarek stream or
Yeah.
whatever. Watch them all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there is our pick'ems, guys. Um, we got Energy, Nautilus Vincier, Direct, and EG qualifying for the knockout stage or playoff stage. Sorry, it's not called knockouts in league. But
Yeah.
yeah. That's gonna be it for this episode of the podcast. I really hope you guys did enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed our awful takes on tier lists and pick'ems and things like that. And yeah, Fresno Regional's coming up. Woo! Get excited for that episode because we're gonna have all the guests on. I mean, we're bringing back old guests. We're getting new guests. It's gonna be fun, and there's gonna be a lot of banter and things like that. So if you're excited for more Pokemon content, next episode it will be full Pokemon, nothing more, nothing less. So. Yeah, Jeremy, do you have anything else you would like to say?
No, I think we got everything excited for Fresno. It's gonna be entertaining episode next week.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter where we update what we're doing, as well as you can find the podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button and leave a comment down below. What do you want to see from us do in terms of like segments for YouTube Shorts, or if you want us to talk about anything else. Hopefully we get to talk about CS2, but there hasn't been very many things
Yeah.
announced for that. I know we're both gonna be playing the heck out of that when it comes out. So I hope everyone enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys in a couple of days on Friday for our for our Fresno episode. So yeah, we're gonna be continue grinding, continue talking about what we want to play, and we'll finally decide on something when it comes time for Fresno Regional Deck Submission. So I hope everyone enjoyed watching / listening to the podcast. See you guys on the next episode.